What term is missing in the dividend? X cubed, right? So I'm going to put a 0. So pretty much just anytime you have a missing term, whether it's in the numerator or the denominator, just put a 0 placeholder in there, and it would be helpful. And it's a division problem, so you begin by dividing the first terms. X to the 4 divided by x is x cubed. Excuse me. And then you want to line up like terms that have the same variables. And then you take that times the divisor, both of these terms, and you bring it down. So that's x to the 4 plus 4x cubed. And you're subtracting off this entire thing, like both of those, right? But in practice, that ends up just meaning you're taking the opposite sign of both of them. All right, so this is a minus, and this becomes a minus. So then those are gone, leaving you negative 4x cubed. Bring down the next term, and you start all over again. You look at this divided by this is negative 4x squared. Multiply by both of those. Change the signs on both of those things because you're subtracting both of them off. And then that gives you 18x squared. Bring down the next term. And now you're dividing this term by that term. So 18x squared divided by x is 18x. Multiplied by both terms in the divisor, 18x squared plus 72x. That is negative 7x. Bring down the negative 9. Negative 7x divided by x, negative 7. Multiplied by the divisor is negative 7x minus 28. Change the signs, and that gives you a remainder of 19. A lot of times what I have students do, and I'm totally okay with this, so they don't have to rewrite that whole thing again, the quotient. Just take your remainder up back to the top of the problem and just write it out to the side. And then box your answer. However, if you leave your answer like that, as beautiful as it is, why am I circling it for partial credit? There's no plus sign. Where does that plus need to go? In front of the fraction right there. Okay? Otherwise, it's a different answer. And then in synthetic division, you'll get the same answer, just goes a little bit faster. I'll do it in a different color right over here so you can see. This synthetic division is brought to you by Puke Green. X plus 4 is your divisor, so what number goes in this little box? Negative 4, right? You have to you change the sign when it's in this form. And then you have your coefficients. You use 0 as a placeholder. And you should have noticed, I mean, hopefully you noticed, maybe your brain just blanked out while you did this. But as you do the synthetic division, it models the math that you did here, these numbers, right? It's just a different way. It just makes it a little bit faster. So you drop your 1, you get negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. There's your, see, there's your 16, there's your 18. That's negative 72, which was right here. That's negative 7, which came next, and then which of these is your remainder? The 19. And how do you know when you start adding your x's back in, how do you know what degree to start with? 1 degree lower than you started with. So the problem started with x to the 4. So when you start putting your x's back in, you start with x cubed and then x squared, so forth and so on. And your answer should look like that one. Okay, that's the form you're going to going to write it in. One thing I want to remind you about synthetic division, it only works in certain circumstances, right? Long division works for any kind of problem you have. Synthetic division works for only a certain kind. Do you remember what the rule was? Linear? Is that what you said? Linear divisors, right? So whatever you're dividing by right here must be linear only in order for synthetic division to work. So if you're dividing by, oh, I don't know, x squared something or other, you cannot do synthetic division. You have to do long division, okay? Or if it was x cubed or whatever. And then the last thing I want to remind you about is the remainder theorem. That was what we did last Friday. We started out that lesson by talking about if you had some function given to you like this, and I said find f of 5, we would normally do, what would that 5? Plug it in for the x's, do the math, and then we'd get our answer. But you can get the same answer using synthetic division. Which piece of synthetic division gives you the answer to that problem? The remainder, right? And that's why it's called the remainder theorem. And the next, but just to keep you here for one more second, for one more little reminder. When you go to set up your synthetic division for remainder theorem, so you have blah, blah, blah. Here's all your math. You're trying to find f of 5. What number goes here, 5 or negative 5? Positive 5, right? You don't change the sign when it's already in this form. So you're going to use the number however it's already written. And then, which piece did we say was our answer? The remainder, whatever number you get down here at the end. Okay? For this problem, you do not have to add your x's back in, because you're just trying to figure out what you're evaluating. What is the value there when x is 5, and it's whatever your remainder was. Listen. So clear your desks, please. Put your phone